Hello, and welcome to the Passion on Purpose Leaders on Center Stage podcast. I am Steph, and I'm the owner and creative director at VIM. VIM's mission is to showcase the enthusiasm and passion of business leaders nationwide. I cannot wait to have you listen to the show, and stick around. At the end, we talk a little bit about how you can be my next guest. All right, guys, we are back with another episode of the Passion on Purpose Leaders on Center Stage podcast. I am super extra juiced up today. I had a phenomenal day today. I had a huge speaking event on top of all of the work we've been doing here at the podcast. And I have such an exciting guest. I know we're going to probably dive into some of my own personal connections to what it is that our guest does. I know we'll get into that on the show, so I'm not going to linger too much here with my intro, but I have Hanna Brand. She is the co-founder and the chief sales officer of Hanna Brand. And we're going to, as we always do, roll right in with my hard-hitting question. Are you ready for it, Hanna?
Yes.
Okay. What is your why?
My why is, for me, family and doing what I'm passionate about. This is a family farm. My dad brought me in as a co-owner with him, my brother, and our CFO, Autumn. So it's always been about family and building a company together. I'm very lucky to have been, provided this opportunity to step up and be a co-owner and CSO of this business. But I get to spend every day with my dad and brother and working with amazing plants that provide so much.
I love that. I love how intricate. Wow, why can't I speak? How integrated the family element is. So it has that always. So you said family farm. So you've pretty much grown up with your father as an entrepreneur in some way, as early as you can remember. Is there a certain age when this all kind of came to light for you?
Yeah, so we were previously a cut flower farm. That was my entire life. My dad moved to California when he was 18 from the Netherlands. So that was kind of when he brought his roots over here with his parents and his brother. So my entire life, I grew up in these greenhouses, playing on the electric carts, spending hours working in the warehouse, stickering bouquet sleeves. So it's just always part of who we were to work on the farm. When I was at college, we transitioned into the medical model for cannabis. And so that's when I really got to start learning a lot more about this plant and the different processes. And, it's different than cut flowers, but it's not so different. We're still honing these same farming practices and techniques that we've had for generations.
What a transition to go from now. Okay, I might ask silly questions, but the listeners might be thinking them. I hope
nothing silly.
Okay, I love that we get that out in the air. So cut flowers. I'm thinking like bouquets and arrangements. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
we
then
made bouquets here, and then we also sold wholesale flowers that florists would use too.
Okay, fantastic. And then there obviously, we all know the shift in our government, in our rules, in our regulations, and society expectations and stigmas and things like that have really shifted in the last. You're probably going to be better at dates, right? But I'm going to say I remember my capstone project in college was on legalizing marijuana. And I have some personal passions around that subject matter. So I remember back in 2007 when I was a senior in college, around that time, it was still quite the faux pas. So at what stage was it for your family? And around that time, what was some of the big monumentous moments of where you could transition the business from, cut flowers, wholesale and retail into the medical cannabis world? That's a huge jump.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we're keeping more private, our family and Autumn's family. My dad was not all gung-ho onto the next plant, here we go. It was really scary. He had never tried cannabis actually until this past summer was his first time.
Wow.
So he was more of the, no, I don't get it. I'm not going to risk my farm for this. And then it was really a lot of stories we were sharing with him about the impacts it has on people's life. And then one of our now really good family friends, he's a veteran, and he shared his story. And so that's when my dad really knew that he was making the decision on more than just, you know, chasing the economy for it, but actually that there is value behind this plant and it's not quote unquote just a drug,
Mm-hmm.
like how it's classified on the federal level still. But every time a helicopter flew over the farm in 2015, it was like, oh, they're probably not looking here. We actually had some baby sharks off the coast that we were like, they're probably looking at the sharks again. But it was definitely, you know, we had all the legal documents. We were under the medical model. We were doing everything correctly, but it was still very hush hush. And then, you know, it got voted in for recreational use, and it was like, oh, everyone can breathe a little bit more. This is happening. But all of that was still in the works in 2015 when we
Wow.
did transition to medical.
And did you do full, like, did you guys pretty much go from a cut flowers wholesale retail to like one night we're that, and the next day this is Autumn Brands, so this is where we're going?
We actually kept one greenhouse, the first greenhouse when you drive into the property. We kept that as cut flowers. That was the one that did not get transitioned. And so that one actually, we stopped growing cut flowers in around 2016, end of 2016, I believe. And so that did not get grandfathered into our land use permitting process. So we
Gotcha.
had an empty greenhouse in there until about a month ago because we
Okay.
got our county licensing, we got our land use, we got our business license. So we are um, through all of the state and county processing to be a compliant farm.
Wow, how exciting. And so I love this bit because this is not the traditional piece of where we have a family, very family oriented business, right? Your vehicle has changed. Vehicles use your passion was always family. The vehicle was cut flowers. And then there was this a family. There's these, your father who was, oh, I'm not quite sure about this. And, probably worried about the stigma and the legalization or the lack of legalization at that stage, and all the hoops you have to jump through. How was there had to have been so much passion behind the conversations that the other members of Autumn Brands were having with your father. Was he the one to convince, and how did that go?
He's definitely the one to convince. It's his, you know, it's ultimately at that time his farm. It's still his farm and land. We rent it from him for
Mhm.
the Autumn Brands business, but it was his vote and decision to make the transition. So without him understanding that the stigma he had in his head from youth till adulthood was, you know, not necessarily true or in alignment with the facts of the actual plant, and showing him the life-changing effects it has on so many different consumers and patients, that it really triggered for him to be open-minded. He's never been a closed-minded person, but he definitely has his ideas that have built up over time. So it
Yeah.
was also really refreshing for me, as you know, I'm only 26 right now, and to watch, you know, my dad, who's lived a very full life, been a very, you know, successful businessman, but also has lost everything, and now
Mm.
still able to be open-minded to what people are telling him that have had different experiences.
You said, a father who's lost everything, and you kind of grazed over that pretty quickly. I feel like we have to touch on that. So tell me, was that through the recession? Was that through the transition of businesses? Is that something, I mean, I'm curious. How was that journey for you all?
Yeah, so he had built up a very successful, I think he was the second largest cut flower producer in the US for some time when I was a lot younger. And in 2018, he had expanded a few years prior, and things kind of came crashing down with the recession and with the new government stipends on Colombia to get flower production from Colombia into the US. There's some new grants for that and some different trading and tax regulations. So a lot more was imported,
Mhm.
rather than grown here and competing with price. So we lost everything. We lost the farm up north. We lost like the ranch we lived on. The only thing that he saved and kept was this actual farm that we have now.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yeah, it was a lot of downsizing, but I think ultimately it brought me and my family closer together. I was in high school at this time, so I was like, I don't care about a house. I'd rather be with my family. So it was a lot nicer to downsize, but then get more time with my dad again, because as you go through that process, it is very stressful and he was very busy, but ultimately we came out of it stronger and with better heads on our shoulders.
Well, and even more depth to your why, which is family, right? Like you guys had to band together and physically get smaller, go from big farm to, everything literally gets tighter and closer knit
Yeah,
in your
protecting
story.
this one little piece of land over everything else with the family, because that was our way to make it out.
I love it. So so I love looking at your company because it is so not the traditional look and feel. And I don't usually dive right into, I hardly ever do on the show, dive into the branding of my guests. But, with such a topic, such a service, or product rather, as medical cannabis and recreational cannabis, do you sell both at this stage now?
Yes.
Okay. Your brand is so different. It is just such a rebel in the industry when it comes to the way you feel when you're interacting with your brand, the way your products look. I want to know, how intentional was that? How did you guys come about with Autumn Brands? And I feel like there's a certain expectation you hope that people feel when they're experiencing your brand. I want to know all about that.
So we are actually on, as I say, Autumn Brands 3.0.
Nice.
When we launched in 2018, we were one of the first and only compliant flower brands in the market, with all of the ever-changing regulations. And we went more the medical route. So we were Autumn Brands, but it was AB in a benzene ring, because strongest molecule and all that fun stuff. And it was orange because we're Dutch and it's bright. And so that's how we started. And then we realized no one was using our like self-proclaimed nickname AB. Everyone was calling us Autumn or Autumn Brands. So we were like, okay, we got to get our full name on there for the people to see it, recognize it, know it a little quicker. So we stayed with orange, made our name bigger. And then we realized, like, me especially, I want more information on this brand. I want the consumer and the bud tender to know what we've, one, do at our farm, who we are, and two, this strain, what's it about? How is it going to make me feel? What terpenes am I going to interact with? So that newest iteration was a very big passion project for myself and Autumn, and we got it all on there, and I think it looks stunning. We classify for indica sativa hybrid by a couple color gradients. And yeah, consumers and bud tenders can look right at the top of their lid, know the strain, the potency, the two top effects that kind of classify it, and the four top terpenes to really, as they educate themselves on terpenes, they can look at that and make comparisons to how they feel versus what terpenes they're enjoying.
How much because it sounds like it was really important for you to educate consumers on what they were purchasing. So, how much do you bleed intentionally through your brand and your marketing educating consumers, educating wholesalers, educating maybe those who, like your father, 5, 10 years ago? How much do you intentionally bleed that through your brand?
So we have 5 brand ambassadors throughout the state. When they're first hired, they're only doing demo days, so in store, talking to consumers, running a promotion. They do bud tender trainings and staff trainings. They go to events all over the state, to have an Autumn Brands booth and just communicate and educate. So it's always been very important to us. We're also learning that you need to have that on a jar or a flyer. So that's why we made those icons that say family owned, women owned,
Mhm.
100% spray free, and full circle sustainability, because those are our top um, kind of ethos of our company and what we do here, and all of the effort and money we spend on the farm to make that product that you're purchasing.
Gosh, I just love how intentional you guys have been. Did that come innately? Did you guys work with someone to I know you said that this is Autumn Brands 3.0 and that you were very, very involved with the 3.0 and it was a passion project of yours, but where did all of that come from as far as the innate knowledge of like these things are important. I need to bring this out to make sure our consumers know that this is important to not just us, but for them as well.
We've always had it on our website. We've always talked about sustainability, the owners behind this farm, and being spray free. But it was actually my idea that we'd throw icons on there. You see it
Nice.
in different
Take
products.
take that. Take it.
But we did work with an amazing designer who
Good.
brought all of our ideas to life. So I could not go into any sort of programming, photoshopping, and make all these labels. I can blurt my ideas over a call and kind of mock up a couple things, and they can make it look professional.
I love it. I know it might seem weird that we're honing in so much on the look and feel, but when listeners go and check out Autumn Brands, autumnbrands.com, right? I just want to make sure I got the
Yes,
yes. So
autumnbrands.com.
when they're checking out autumnbrands.com, and we'll put the links in the show notes, guys. But the first thing you're going to notice is this just doesn't look and feel like every other, cannabis company out there. And I think there's a lot of amazing beauty in that. And so when I first had Hanna pop into my sphere as a potential guest, I really wanted to just celebrate what you're doing because I think you're making a different mark for the cannabis industry. And I think it's the direction that the industry needs to start going so that the stigma and so that some of the positive things can become in the forefront versus the opposite, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, for us, this is ultimately a health and wellness product that can reach all different aspects of people in California, different communities, and different type of people all around us. So it's used in a lot of different ways, from recreational to medical to just sleep, or
Mhm.
not never just pain, but
Yeah.
it's helping a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
So I know you have a pretty expansive selection on your site of different products, but can you tell the listeners, or please tell the listeners, what is the most obscure product that people wouldn't think of that would be really powerful? Or if you don't have an obscure word, if that one's too weird, your favorite one, something, because I think, a lot of times, the one for me, and I hope I don't take yours, but one of my favorite, cannabis products is a topical ointment. And there's plenty of them, but, specifically a topical ointment that helps with pain and pain relief. And it's just, when I mentioned that to some of my own family, they're like, wait, what? That that's not cannabis. And so there's still this lack of education around these other ways that cannabis can be harnessed and used in other products. So which one comes to mind for you?
Love that you mentioned the topical or salve. I was going to mention that one, but our other
Sorry.
one, it's okay. Our other one is also not one that falls into our flower line, but is our Thrive Elixir. So it comes from a full spectrum oil of our Blue Dream CBD flower, which we make in pre-rolls and jars as well. And we just mix it with MCT, or the coconut oil, the medical grade coconut oil. And that's all that's in it. We don't add any flavors, any additives. And I use that for sleep. If you don't want to feel high, you can take a couple drops right before you go to sleep, and you'll sleep through the night. If you want a little mellow after dinner high, you can take it a little bit earlier, and it has a slow onset like edibles. But it really just helps me balance not waking up a few times in the middle of the night, or if I'm having slight pain or I get very sore from working out. But still, the topical is my favorite. We actually added magnesium in there. So we used a large amount of medical grade magnesium. And that was because most athletes, when you have a balm for post-workout or injury, it has magnesium in there. And that helps along with the high THC and CBD to really attack muscle and joint pain.
Wow. The elixir is definitely something I'm going to like I said, we both clearly love the topical option too, but that's a new one for me is the elixir. I'm definitely going to go geek out and check that out. I love it. So when people come and land on your social media or work with any of your ambassadors or land on the website or walk into a store, what do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel uplifted, like they're getting something that they're there for a reason for, and it's fulfilling that reason.
Yeah, uplifting. So once again, I just feel like such a rebel in the industry of like the choice of words. And I feel like, dare I say, I feel like that has a lot to do with the female owned element too. I think there's so much giving and education and that uplifting goes right along with that. So I love that answer. So we've touched on a few things, right? But in a nutshell, tell us, listeners, who do you serve? What's the best way for them to connect with you and start to experience Autumn Brands? And if they're not local, what are their options? Kind of go into that.
Yeah, so we serve the entire state of California. We have a delivery service, which is delivery.autumnbrands.com. It works for quite a few different counties in California, not everywhere. You can check out our website, autumnbrands.com, to find dispensaries near you. To learn more about us, we do have a blog post, which I believe you're going to add a download link to here. There's also a code for that delivery service. If it's in your area, it's going to be Steph20 for 20% off. And just to stay in touch with what's going on, you can follow us at Instagram at autumnbrands_ currently. And yeah, keep up with us, send us messages on Instagram. We love getting back to people. We have a contact page on our website too, if you have any questions.
Love it. Yeah, I definitely wanted to make sure off air, Hannah and I talked in depth about what you all listeners can get from this episode beyond just the great passion and enthusiasm and intention that this brand has. I also want you to know, if you're not local to California, Hannah and the Autumn Brands team has a resources page. And so if you're curious about benefits, if you want to learn more about how cannabis can be helpful to you, if you want to broaden your understanding about the products that are out there these days that are so different than what you might have thought they were 20, 40, 60 years ago, definitely the show notes will have both those links in there. We'll have autumnbrands.com and then that 20% off code as well. So I thank you so much for coming on today, Hannah. I know the time goes by really fast, but I really appreciate all of the insights on how Autumn Brands came to be. It's been a fun thing to walk through with you.
Thank you for having me. I'll come back anytime.
Nice. I like it. All right. Well, guys, until next time. Steph here. Thank you so much for listening to the Passion on Purpose Leaders on Center Stage podcast. If you are a successful business owner and you lead your business with passion, we'd love to feature you on our show. We'd love to share with the world what makes your business great and how you have intentionally led passion throughout your business. Also, if you got any value or little tidbits from this episode, please take a minute to screenshot the episode and share it on your favorite social media platform. Be sure to tag us so we can properly thank you, and we love deepening our connection with our listeners. We are regularly putting out new episodes to feature leaders such as yourself who lead with passion on purpose. So be sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss any future episodes. For more episodes, guest information, or details on the show, please visit getvim.com/passion on purpose. That's getvim.com/passion on purpose. Once again, I'm Steph. I am the owner and creative director at Vim, and thank you for listening to the show.